Hi, in this episode, we are going to spend a little bit more time in understanding how the scoping works in JavaScript, and we would be looking at a few practical examples. So, here we have the function lab, which we have been working with in the past few episodes. So, we have the declaration of variable vehicle, and we are logging it vehicle, and then we have a nested function called bus, and in the bus, we have another variable vehicle bus, and then we are invoking bus inside the lab function, and if we run it we see car being printed here, and this one is printing bus. No surprise there. However, the thing to notice here is that we have, when this function is looking for vehicle, it finds the vehicle right here, and when the lab is looking for vehicle, this finds right here. So this is the simplest and the easiest part. However, let's remove the declaration of variable vehicle from bus. So if you remove it from here, now the case gets a little bit interesting, and it gets interesting because now the inner function, in the inner scope, there is no variable vehicle. So the way the search for the variable vehicle will begin with, after the inner scope is not able to find it, it will go to the outer scope, and then it will go to the outer scope's outer scope, and then it will keep going to the outer scope looking for the variable vehicle. So in this case, it will not find the variable vehicle inside the function bus, so it will go outer and it should find the value car. Let's run it and see, and that's exactly what happened, car and car. Okay, now what I will do is that this vehicle, I will change the value of vehicle. Let me remove auto.js. Vehicle is equal to, I will change it from car to its bike. Okay, now if I run bus, what will happen? So the thing to notice is that at the compile time, at the time when we wrote the code, at that time it is referring to the vehicle, and the only information that we have is that vehicle is not present in the inner scope, so it will look at the outer scope, and at the outer scope at this time the value of vehicle is car. When we run the code, we don't see the car is printed by this one, but this bus prints bike. It does not print car. Now the question is why, and the answer is that when it looks for the outer scope, looks for the variable in the outer scope, it is looking for the live value in the outer scope. It is not looking at the static value. What it means is that when the code is compiled, at that time it is not like this variable vehicle is married to this car. It does not work like that. What happens is that it at the runtime, when the function does not have the value vehicle, then it looks for the vehicle in the outer scope, and whatever is the value at that time, it picks up that value. So right now the value is bike, so it picked it up. Yeah, so we can do one more thing, like we can change the value again one more time. We can change it to minivan, run bus again, and then now it will see minivan. So the point is that when the value is not found in the inner scope, when on the outer scope, it is keeping a reference to the variable, and whatever is the variable in whatever is the value in the outer scope at that time, that's the value that will be printed. So let's take one more example to fully understand it. The for loop variable x in list, set timeout function, console.log. First let me run it and see what the value is. Okay, so the code is running. Okay, so what I'm doing here is that I have an array, and that array has 3 values, 1, 2 and 3, and I'm running them through a for loop, and in the for loop I'm putting a set timeout. Set timeout is nothing else but it's saying that, hey, don't execute this function right away, but execute it 3 seconds later in future. So 3 seconds later these functions will be executed. So what happens is that I quickly go through the for loop, set 3 functions, and all these functions get executed 3 minutes later. And my goal here is to print the double the value of whatever 1, 2, 3. So I would expect 2, 4 and 6 to be printed, because I'm getting the value from the list and I'm multiplying it by 2. So let's run the code, and I'm getting the value. So I should get the value 2, 4 and 6. So the third one is correct, but the first 2 are not. So what's happening? So what's happening is that in order to understand, let's find out what is the value of x here. X should be 0, 1 and 2, because x is the iterator, but the value of x is 2. So x is stuck on the last value. Why is that? The reason, in order to understand, to get the answer to the question, we need to look inside the function. This is the function, and this function refers to a variable called x. Is the variable x inside the function? It is not. So it means that in the inner scope the variable x is not there, so it has to go in the outer scope. But as we just discussed, anytime it goes to the outer scope, it does not have control over what the value will be. It will take the value whichever is present at the time of execution. So guess what happened? 3 seconds later, when the values are executed, by that time we have gone through our for loop, because going through the for loop takes less than a second, and x is set at the last value, 0, 1 and 2, last iterator. So all these 3 functions, they take the last value of the x, which is 2, and that's why they are all printing 6. So now that we know what the problem is, we need to fix it, and we also have a little bit of hint of the fix. In order to fix it, we need to bring the value of x inside the function, because once it's inside the function, then there is no such dependency on going out of the inner scope, and then the value will be the correct value. So let's say that we have the function, I'm accepting that value as I will print it I, and I need to this function I need to pass the value x, and in the case of set timeout, this is how you pass the value. So now what will happen is that when I'm invoking the function, I'm not just invoking the function. To the function I'm passing the value x, and I'm accepting the value I. So now I has become an inner value. Let's run it, and now I should see the value 0, 1 and 2. Perfect. So now I can go to the list I and multiply it by 2, and that should give me double the value, 2, 4 and 6. So this is an example where anytime you go to the outer scope, you get the live value, and that's how scoping works. That's it for this episode. I will see you next time. Thank you.